really believe that it is possible to transform Ghana with the right leadership is in place. As a matter of fact, not only transform Ghana, but the lamp that we get burning here will provide enough light to spread across the whole of the African continent, where the whole of Africa will be transformed because Africa potentially is the richest continent in the world, but at the same time the poorest. This is just not acceptable. The light that we're going to be, the flames that we're going to be setting up here to burn in Ghana, we believe should go across the whole of the continent of Africa and usher in a totally new dispensation, new era, where Africans can march across this world with dignity, with honor, with respect, wherever they go. And it can start in Ghana. I believe that with all my heart. So I will urge all Ghanaians to begin with to rally around what we are seeking to do, so that we will bring about the transformation that will set us on a totally different trajectory in this world. No, we were not. Disqualification can happen when you have submitted all your documents and the EC goes through it all, they vet it for authenticity and all kinds of, and at the end of that they can decide that this doesn't hit the mark or this one hits the mark. But we did not even submit all our documents, so we couldn't have been disqualified. We withdrew our nomination way ahead of that. So as I've already explained, it was due to our internal discussions, internal standards that we use, and decided that it's better to come in 2028 on the right footing than to rush into this one on the wrong footing. In fact, we were well received by the Electoral Commission. They were very courteous, they were very caring, and so they showed us the way. In fact, they held training sessions for our people at the beginning of the whole process, and I would say they were doing an excellent job. So we were really helped to navigate all these parts of the process by the Electoral Commission. They were very good. But when we looked at what we had done, we had to make that decision based on our own internal reckonings rather than anything that came from outside from the EC. Just as we ourselves were devastated and disappointed by the decision we had to make, many of them were also devastated and disappointed because they were looking forward to us actually coming right through and then bringing a new hope to Ghana and for all Ghanaians. So it wasn't easy for them either. So yes, that's what I would say about that. Well, we're calling it a pause in the agenda, which is what I would like to communicate again, that this decision to withdraw is not withdrawing from the political space or ever wanting to run for president. In fact, we see it as a pause in our agenda of running for president. And so this pause now allows us to think ahead to 2028. So we're saying to all our supporters, let's begin to think and plan towards 2028. And by the time we get there, we'll be in a much, much stronger place to be able to overcome this particular obstacle that made us withdraw. But even beyond that, we'll be much stronger to make a much, much bigger impact in 2028. We actually have 6 parliamentary candidates contesting the elections in different parts of the country, and we are throwing all our support behind these candidates. We will be excited to see many of them win their seats and go to parliament. So we are focusing on the parliamentary part of the elections right now and putting all our support to them. Absolutely. We are already putting in place plans to help us begin to set things in motion so that we will be well ready, well prepared as we hit 2028. But we are starting now, actually. We'll be running in 2028. We had a really powerful plan for transforming this country. We call them the 5 transformations. And the first one is transforming agriculture, which means that we produce everything that we eat in this country. The second is transforming industry so that we make most of the things that we use in this country instead of importing everything. The third one is transforming natural resource ownership, which is very, very dear to my heart because at the moment, Ghana's mineral resources, oil, gold, whatever we have, we get so little out of it. It's been almost literally given away to foreign companies just to take away from the country year after year. Now, we would want a transformation there where Ghanaians become the actual owners of these resources, and we employ foreigners to work in the mines and we pay them for their services. But the actual ownership of this should be held in trust by the government for all Ghanaians. And this will release so much money that will allow us to do many more things, to allow us to care for Ghanaians. Now, I need to also mention that the fourth transformation is transforming infrastructure, which is roads, railways, electricity supplies, new financial architecture. We have plans to bring such transformation that there will be speed of movement in business and trade and all kinds of things in this country. And fifthly, probably the most important, we want to see the transformation of ethics in this country. We want integrity to become the character and heart and core of governance in this country, where government is known for truth and honesty and care, and government will be known for as a place where people are thinking about a place where the money and the wealth of Ghanaians are protected and really prevented from leaking away through corrupt practices. We need to transform that completely, where ethical considerations, the well-being of Ghanaians are the first on people's minds when we are making decisions to do with money, harnessing the resources, reallocating the resources. All have to be like that. We want a country where contracts are awarded on merit instead of, through bribery and corruption. We want a country where people tell the truth about all the money that we are making in this country, how we share it. So at the heart of government, there has to be integrity. And that was one of the things we want to see transformed. I call it transforming ethics. So these 5 interconnected transformations, we believe that when we get them all connected together, so much money will be released and also kept and protected from being stolen, that Ghana will have a lot in our hands. Now we can use it to care for all Ghanaians in the educational sector. We have money to do new schools, to pay teachers more. We have money to do health services. We have money to do housing. We have money for all the social welfare needs of this country. We wouldn't need to go and borrow anywhere if we manage to do the things that I've just outlined here. So that will allow us to bring the necessary care. I can think of pensioners, for example. We'll be able to care for them. Pensioners should not be going around looking for money to buy their medicines. The state should be able to care for them that way. The disadvantaged, everybody will be looked after. So we want to see all these things in place. But first, the 5 transformations will generate the wealth, and then because we have a good heart towards Ghanaians, we'll release that wealth to caring for all the 34 million Ghanaians in this country. I think that I need to mention there are systemic issues that need to be addressed. But as I explained earlier on, ours was not connected with that systemic issue. We were simply doing our internal judgments that brought us to this point of withdrawing. But there are systemic issues in this country. I feel, for example, that the way political parties are financed and eventually get into power leaves a lot to be desired, because as at now, I can say, before any party leader eventually, the way it's run now, before any leader gets onto the seat in government, he would have been totally compromised by the finances that have been drawn into a very, very expensive campaigns that are run And where do they get these monies from? Well, they have to either borrow them or get it from patrons. But as soon as they become heads of state, then their focus will be how to get the money to pay back their debts, how to get the money back to their patrons. Their eyes cannot be on caring for people in this nation. They have to sort out their indebtedness and all kinds of things first. So the way we do it now is actually leaves much to be desired. We need to transform the way money works in the whole political space. Maybe we should even shorten the campaign period so that we have things that have, for example, I asked, if you've been in power for 8 years and you've done a good job, you don't need to campaign at all for the next elections.
Yeah.
Your good works will speak for you. Unfortunately, people do such a bad job that they have to go and get money and throw into campaigning all over, trying to tell us a different story from what we can all see. Now, so it shouldn't be like that. It should be the case that the whole thing, we should try, as people call it, monetizing the democracy. We can reduce that significantly, and that will open the door for many people to come in who are got a good heart but may not necessarily have the money to do it. The other thing I need to mention as well, I really need to mention this, is there is considerable intimidation from the ruling government for anybody else who is seeking to come into the place. In fact, the number of people who share their fears over me doing this, they share their concerns and their fears, what they can do to you, what they can do to your business, what they can do to your life, your family. Many people have experienced this. They're not speaking from a vacuum. And they say, this is because of this. They pleaded with me not to even go in. And if for some of them I pleaded with them to come and join me, they wouldn't come at all because of these fears. I think this level of intimidation is not acceptable in what we call a democracy. A democracy it feels more like a totalitarian military regime in this country now than a democracy. Because if it was a democracy, people would anybody can get up and start and get involved in this without any fear of intimidation. But what we have now is far away from it. And I want to say that people ought to find a way. Ghanaians need to rise up against this and make sure that free and fair elections, the atmosphere is free, equal playing grounds for every person who wants to participate in the life of this nation. Because I believe there are many good people who are outside of politics who could make significant contributions in this country if they were not intimidated, as we have in this nation. The new parties and the older parties, they all have to go through the same process. I would say that maybe media exposure can be better, more of that given to emerging political parties. I also say that the press as a whole in this nation can function better, and they can encourage diversity instead of focusing entirely on the two major parties as if they are the only answer. No. They should open it themselves. They should open things up so that other parties can get good visibility very, very quickly. And that will help the democratic process in this nation. I would say it's been a wonderful experience. There's so many things you don't know until you go into this space. And obviously I've been operating in the church space, the kingdom of God space over these years. And I would say it's a bit tamer. Leadership's a bit tamer there. Now you get into the wild, and everything comes at you. Everything is completely untamed. However, I feel also that it is a place where every person with a fear of God, with a knowledge of God, with a love for God and love for people should be making their way into that area, because the things that God has entrusted to us in terms of our character, when you follow God, He gives you integrity. He trains you integrity. He gives you vision. He expands your vision so you can think much bigger than you've ever thought. He also gives you a heart of love and care for people. And so these are, interestingly, the things that were lacking in the political governance in our nation. So for people like me and people who are following after me, I would say this is the place to be. Come and offer all the treasures that God has entrusted to you to the people of Ghana. You know, one thing I also need to mention, I feel that we have been recycling ourselves and our good things in the churches for too long. Just been all the good things God has given us, we share it only in the churches, only in the churches, only in the churches. But God wasn't thinking like that. God had always wanted the things He has shown us and taught us to be carried to serve all the peoples of the world. This is what He said. I will bless you and make you a blessing to the nations. So this is what we ought to be doing, not only in the political space, in the business space, in the medical field and all that, but particularly now in this country where people say, oh, politics is dirty business, so we won't go there and all that kind of thing. Well, let's go and clean it up and make it a nicer place, and it ought to be. The beneficiaries will be all of us in Ghana. I think that we had so many obstacles to cross that we were announcing ourselves pretty late in the day, which is partly what contributed to us eventually having to withdraw. I think that we've got to start early and start making ourselves known very early. And yes, that's going to be an important one. Another thing we have learned is that you are going to need some amount of money, whatever it takes. And so we need to start raising that also quite early. I feel also that in the political space, you just got to be careful that you maintain good relations with anyone that you meet. In fact, even if there is disagreement, don't disagree too harshly. Don't wield the sword at each other, because 3 months down the line, you are going to need that person to be part of what you are doing. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. So, which I think, Jesus has been teaching us this all the time. Forgive very quickly. And so we are going to, it's like a whole network. So don't disagree too harshly. Don't attack each other. Attack the issues, discuss the issues. Of course, be very, very strong in fighting for the issues. But let's keep the people, alive. Let's keep one another alive and learn to again, even in that space, love and care for one another within the political space itself be paramount. And we're sure that, we'll make a lot of progress. I think I spent a lot of time on a platform called Ghana First Coalition. I think a lot of that was a waste of time. I would have wished we tackled the issues that were before us more openly, decided on a flag bearer much more quickly, and then start working towards it. But most of the time, we simply were going around in circles. And I think that we wasted a lot of time there. We really want to be up and running at the next opportunity that we have. Ghana should create an environment of integrity, first and foremost, at the seat of government. Very little can succeed if we don't have, very little can succeed with a corrupt environment. But a lot can be accomplished if everything is done transparently. And so I would suggest that we give integrity thumbs up, first place in our national discourse. I was going to suggest that we start off by having a day of integrity once every month, where on that day we bring the issue. Let everybody talk about it. The ministers who are not practicing integrity, but there is the plumbers who are also not practicing integrity. There is the mechanics who are not practicing integrity, who are doing things to your car. When you start driving it off, the whole thing blows up. Integrity is such a much needed quality. It really is a godly thing that holds the place together. I want us to start having national integrity days where we focus on the issues and discuss how we can get over it. so that as a nation we'll come to a compact that, hey, the way we have been traveling all these years, it hasn't helped us. Can we not make a change? It's possible. If we face the issues, it's possible to make a change. I want to see that. I also want to see that we give agriculture in a very, very important place. We are blessed with rich lands, water sources, the front plains, rich lands next to our Volta Lake. How can we be still importing rice? It's estimated we import about 391 million US dollars of rice every year. That's money that should be going into Ghanaian bank accounts, Ghanaian pockets, and reaching us locally. But we send them all to Vietnam or Thailand and other places. We really ought to give that pride of place. And I think I've mentioned the other transformation, but this, as a minimum, we owe it to ourselves to really grow what we eat, begin to make the things that we use, and Ghana will be in a different place. We'll be working hopefully through our people who win parliamentary seats, but we will constantly be keeping the ruling government on its toes, constantly reminding them of the paramount responsibility that they have towards the Ghanaian populace. I've said before, and I'll say it again, that leadership is never for itself. Leadership is never for the leader. Leadership is for the people. And so if you're a leader and you're not actually thinking 24/7 about the people, how to improve their lives, how to make things better for them, and you think only about yourself, you're missing the whole point of leadership. And so we'll keep people on their toes, that we'll make them think and plan and consider the well-being of the 34 million Ghanaians will be paramount in their thinking. In fact, we say Ghana first or Ghanaians first. We'll be shouting that mantra to be reminding them as we move along. We have talked a lot about the key transformations. I feel we have stirred enough for people to see that integrity is central and crucial and essential for nation building. I want to be remembered for that. I've beaten this drum so often that people might begin to associate me with it. I also want people to remember to think of me as somebody who had a really big vision and faith, and therefore hope for Ghana. I believe that there's plenty of hope for Ghana with the right leadership in place. Hope to transform the socio-economic experience of Ghanaians here. I've said that under my government, I expect that the way Ghanaians queue up to get visas from the way Ghanaians queue up at the embassies, foreign embassies in Accra, to get visas to go to other countries like Europe or the USA to make a living. I believe that we can turn that narrative around completely, where Ghana will become the place of opportunity, a place of hope, a place where every citizen can achieve their highest potential. It will be going and pumping so well that people will be queuing up at our Ghanaian embassies abroad because they want to come into Ghana and achieve their dreams here. I can see that happening, and I want to be known as somebody who raised the sights of people that Ghana can become the destination of choice, not only for Ghanaians, but people from all over the world. We are looking and we are talking, but we haven't made that decision yet. So there's no rush about that. The elections are still several weeks away. When we do, we know some of them, we don't know some of them well. When we do get to a place where we find proper alignment and we are fully satisfied, we'll be very happy to endorse, but not before then. First of all, the character of the leader. We want to see that he treasures and values integrity first and foremost. Secondly, it should be a person whose heart is for the people rather than just for the position that he's trying to occupy. It has to be like that. That is what we call true leadership. And we will also be looking for other plans, policies, if we've got manifestos, if they are strong powerful and can deliver much better life experience for Ghanaians. We're looking at these things, perhaps much more, but this will be the things that we'll be really focusing on.